Welcome back to another Effective Living Conversation. I'm your host, Ricardo Miller, and I'm so glad you guys are joining us tonight. Listen, guys, for those of you that are faithful, at some point, I'm going to be able to be so favored and so blessed by God that I'm going to do what Oprah did a few years ago. A car for you, a car for you, a car for you. Brand new cars being given away to those of you that are faithful to our Effective Living platform. Tonight, we're going to dive into a conversation that I believe is very, very important. I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. And so tonight, I'm joined with my brother and soon to be very acquainted friend. Because I've been watching him for a while. He's been doing some amazing things. And to be able to have this conversation with him tonight is a blessing indeed. Hubert Edwards, welcome to Effective Living.
Thank you so much, Coach Miller. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. Like you, I have been watching you for a while, watching you out there. I've listened to, a couple of interviews from you. I've heard about your ups and your downs and your transition and the rebirth, if you will. And so, I'm really happy to be able to join you on this leg of the journey. And, hopefully it's a start of things to come.
Yes. I truly believe that. I want to commend you for what you have spearheaded over the years. I've watched your conference. I've heard your interviews like you've done of mine. And you've been doing your thing for a while. Talk to our viewing audience and tell them a little bit about yourself and some of the things you've been doing over the years.
Well, the place to start is I'm originally from Jamaica. Born, grew up in Jamaica. When I'm asked where I'm from, I will tell people that I'm from Benin. They look at me and say, no, you don't sound like you're from Benin. You sound Jamaican. The truth is I grew up in a district called Benin in Jamaica, actually situated right beside another district called Egypt. So, too pure and pure African. Yes. I transitioned to the Bahamas a number of years ago, and I've been, working. I'm an accountant by profession. I spent some time in financial services, and now I'm into consulting. I'm doing my own consultancy business, but on the side, if you will, I seek to find ways to give back. And I do that through having our annual Success Summit. And through that Success Summit, we are able to offer scholarship to young people and also to present leadership awards. So we hand out, for example, the Miles Monroe Memorial Award, the Marcus Garvey Memorial Award, the Robert Love Memorial Award. So these are things which really kind of get us going, and it's a way of giving back to the community and creating a space where me, myself, and others who are associated can grow and learn. And so, it's been exciting, been challenging too, but it's been exciting, been a growing experience.
Excellent. I love Jamaica. For years, I was going to Jamaica, St. Anne's area. And a good friend of mine, he watches us and I've been a guest on my show numerous times. Been there and stayed at his home and all that stuff. Bishop Mark McLean from the New Testament Church of God. I love the New Testament Church of God there in Jamaica. And all of my good people who follow this platform from Jamaica, love you guys. Man, I didn't know you were from Jamaica.
Yes, I am. From Brownstown, St. Anne, actually.
Yes. Hey, listen, I pride myself on telling people I went on Blue Mountain.
Okay, good.
You know,
I've been there too.
yeah, you know,
Mhm.
and got the coffee
Nice.
and you know, I didn't understand height until I did Blue Mountain going up on the. I was like, it was amazing and vacation there on numerous occasions. And
Yeah.
so, man, listen, tonight I want to dive into the principles of leadership, but I want to lean in on clearly what you have discovered as principles that God has allowed you to see, that you feel as though they are trusted and one that can be passed on to others. What's your view on leadership in general? When you think the term leadership, what comes to mind?
You know, leadership is about finding a way, finding a place to help others to become better than they themselves think they can in the first instance. It is really about creating value in other persons. And leadership is, as I like to put it, leaders are merchants of hope, engineers of culture. So you, as a leader and as an individual who is dealing in leadership, you always have to be at a place where you are giving persons hope. Because even an individual who is well enabled, an individual who has a certain level of competence, we all come to that place at some point in time when we need somebody to push us, when we need somebody to tell us that it is possible. And if you were to rethink, re engineer your views, you will be able to do some more. But more importantly, you have to be an individual who is committed to engineering a culture which says, I can, I will, I must, I will have to get it done. Because you know the thing we learn in the space of leadership is that it doesn't matter what type of strategy you come up with. Culture eats that for breakfast every single time. And so, unless you engender the right culture, you're always going to create a situation. You may not totally fail, but for sure, you'll be operating at a suboptimal level. And really, leadership is about optimizing opportunities at all points in time. So, that's kind of my take on leadership: creating value, helping other persons to grow.
So good. So good. Totally agree with you, sir. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I'm telling you guys, this gentleman is loaded. We could dissect what he just mentioned in about 20 different ways and probably get a book out of it because it was just so good just now. Let me ask you this question. When you hear the term, leaders, he's a born leader. Do you believe an individual is born a leader or an individual can become a leader? What's your view on the whole term born versus become, or what's your view there?
It's one of those controversies which been around for a long time, longer than you and I.
Yeah.
I do not like persons that come down on the side of born leaders.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it says to me personally that I, who is created by God, just as the individual who you consider to be a born leader, we have, imbalances. We weren't given the same type of a potential. Right. So I am more on the side of leaders are created. I'm a Miles Monroe student, and I believe in the idea that we were born and endowed with this potential, which is dormant, and that potential needs to be nurtured. So the way I look at it, Coach Miller, is like this: leadership is not really just about getting up and doing. It's about what you do every single day from an intentional place. So you are always growing, and it happens like this. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And we can keep the math going. At some point in time, it just get too big. It just got too big a while ago for me. But it really gets too big for us to do the mathematics. So if you keep working, you get to that place where you start having exponential growth. And that's basically what it is. I think John Maxwell says, growth is what you do every day. So every day you add a little bit more. And eventually an individual emerge. You help to co-create a new you. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you are better at leadership. Never ever perfect, because there's always growth to happen, but you're a better leader. And I think that's the way we have to look at it. This idea of being born really is, it robs me. I feel slighted when
Yes.
someone says, leaders are born, because I don't believe I was born a leader. I have been working very hard to help to pull some things out of me with the help of others. And so that idea is something which I kind of walk away from.
Nice, nice. Man, thank you for sharing that with us. Listen, I grew up in the Bahamas. And years ago, I remember riding my bike to BFM for the Believers Conference or the Leadership Conference, and I would sit in the back and I would say to myself, oh man, look at this. This is amazing. One day I want to be a speaker. But at that time, I was afraid to even share my testimony. And someone said to me, you should join Toastmasters. And I joined Toastmasters. And in addition to that, I heard Dr. Monroe talk about the importance of readers are leaders. And I became committed to reading good content to help become the person I was created to be. Let's talk about that continual education in the life of a leader. A lot of people I found made the mistake of checking it out. Oh, I got my master's now, no more reading for me. I finished high school. There are some people, even that early, decide to stop learning. How dangerous is that for a person who is committed to one day be a leader in a position or one influential status in life, but they stop learning? How dangerous is it for their potential?
Extremely dangerous, because learning is growing. When you learn, you grow. You learn to become transformed. If you're going to create impact in this world, if you're going to create impact with individuals, then you must first grow yourself. And so, like you said, you have to read the books. You have to go to Toastmasters. I'm a Toastmaster myself, and I have found that just putting myself in that environment, and you build, whether you have some innate capacity to do so or lean into that. Over time, you become more comfortable. You become more skillful. You start to learn the nuances of speaking. You know when to pause and draw the person in. So these are things which are learned along the way. And so there's a parallel between you seeking to grow yourself. And just going back to John Maxwell. The idea is, if you don't in the first instant pour into you, there's not going to be nothing to pour out. We always hear the phrase that an empty bag cannot stand. So if you literally take a duffel bag and try to stand it up, right, nothing happens. If you stack that full of things and you set it in the right place, it will stand. And so we have to get to the place where we become lifelong learners. I think the only time you should stop learning is that moment when you transition, because obviously you can't do it anymore. So from my perspective, I'm always reading. I'm always looking for new ideas, new information. I'm always looking to interact with persons. I like to meet new people. I like when persons share new ideas with me, and I like to challenge those ideas. One of the reasons I do this sometimes very subtly, I like to challenge people's idea to determine how convicted they are to it, because I really have no time to waste with an individual who is superficial, right, and is not convicted to what they're saying. So when you interact with persons who speak to you from a place of authenticity, there's a greater amount of learning. It's almost like a connection of spirit. And you would have experienced that, for example, with Dr. Miles Monroe. Spend 5 minutes with him, you make that connection, and you know that even if you disagree with what he's saying, he's speaking from a place of true belief. And that is where we ought to get. And that only comes through learning.
Wow. Totally convinced of what you believe. I was telling a friend of mine, he's in Canada, a pastor friend. I said to him, I woke up this morning and I said, I was home, my wife had left the house already, and I was sleeping in late, and I woke up and I says, I am unapologetically a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. And he said, what was that about? I said, it wasn't for nobody, but it's just getting up, reminding myself from whom I believe, and having that conviction to say, it was, I told him I felt born again for the first time. And I said, with all the busyness that's in our world, it's just so cluttered and it's just so much noise and it's just so much activity that, you know, I read a lot. And I'm studying a lot in regards to psychology and philosophy and principles of human behavior. It's sometimes you can drift off and find yourself not really remembering the basis of who you are and what you're about. What's your view on holding true to the foundation for which you believe, even in all of your development, keeping the core values,
Fundamental,
Yeah.
critical, unapologetically so.
Yeah.
You have to stay at a place where you're focused on your true north, right?
Yeah.
Because the moment you shift away from that, you start to feel like a fake. You know,
Right.
the world may discover that you are a fake, but you already know. You know when you're not authentic.
Correct.
And, you know, just going back to the statement you made earlier as you talk about interacting with your pastor friend. And I was thinking, well, you know, here is Coach Ricardo leading himself.
Yeah.
And the highest form of leadership is self-leadership. Because at the end of the day, you get to the place where you stay at an authentic level. You become very integrous in what you do. And you develop this level of awareness, which allows you to almost be able to kind of step outside of you and lead you.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you come back. So if you do not develop that ability over time, you're going to find the pressures of the world, whether it's going to be finances or relationship, or you just studying, which drags you away from your center and the ability to come back to there. So I believe that as individuals, you need to decide and be convinced that this is what represents the truest, authentic me, and work very hard to stay there until and unless you are convinced that that is not the authentic you. That's just a part of your metamorphosis. And so you grow into that. It's like the caterpillar. Caterpillar is convinced that I'm a caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until the moment come which natures then pokes it and say, you are going to cocoon yourself because you're not a caterpillar.
Yeah.
Your destiny is to become a butterfly.
Yes.
Now, if that caterpillar spend all of its time arguing, well, I am a caterpillar and I'm going to stay a caterpillar, the potential butterfly will never emerge. So we, at one stage of our lives, like the caterpillar, you have to be the best caterpillar in the world. You know what they do? They get into your vegetable patch and they eat everything they can find in preparation for hibernation to become a butterfly.
So good.
That's really what it is. So when we are sucking up all of this learning and doing the things which makes us better, we are on the path to our metamorphosis, hopefully for something, you know, as beautiful as a butterfly.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're joined with Hubert Edwards and we're diving into leadership essentials. Let me tell you something. Everyone needs to study leadership, and from the mother to the father to the business person to the employee to the entrepreneur to the person in ministry. Take a hold of what you're hearing, what the Holy Spirit brings to your heart and allows to connect with you as the thing you needed to hear from this talk, and grab a hold of it. Don't become familiar with the conversation. Don't allow yourself to think it's just another life. Okay? This session can change your life forever if you are a student, a lifelong student, that is. If you're willing and open to learn as God sets the stage for you to extract truth that's being presented. Because even now, I'm learning. I love these talks because I'm pulling what's for me even while I'm listening. I want to ask you this. The role of confidence. For years, I struggled. For years, I found myself doing the things that I prayed for, but yet I still doubted if I could do those things. And it's been lately I find myself accepting myself, but the struggle has truly been real. At one point, I was in Nigeria speaking, and I called my spiritual father, Apostle Wells, and I remember saying, "Oh my, I'm speaking at this place, and Dr. Miles Monroe was he was the last Bahamian speaker here, and I don't think I'm qualified, capable of even replicating anything of sort that Dr. Monroe would have brought." He said, they didn't bring you to replicate. He said, be you. Be you, and give them Ricardo Miller. Now, over the years, it took me some time to accept who is Ricardo Miller in God, in leadership, and in the calling of God in my life as a coach and a minister. I'm asking you this question about confidence to walk in who you've been called to be, like that of David saying with confidence in the king. Unfortunately, I can't use your sword and shield. I'm not skilled with that. That was strong. What's your view on the role of confidence in leadership?
Confidence is so important. It's absolutely important. Like you, I've struggled with that over a number of years. I still struggle with that. I still ask myself the question, why are you here? Who are you? Who is it that you believe that you have the ambition to go write books? I've written 2 books so far and have a desire to do more. Who are you who believe that you're a country boy from Brownstown, St. Ann, Benin, and you want to get to the place, which is still my ambition, to be a speaker on the world stage. And so I grapple with that every day. It's Marcus Garvey who said, if you lack confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life. Wow. And so we have to work continuously and keep reminding ourselves that we are capable. We are able. We were made in the image of God. And so if we're made in the image of God, which doesn't mean that if you put God over here and me over here, me and him look alike, right? No, we were made in the capacity, the capability. We were made to do great things. And so as you transition through life, you have to get into the business of doing, because we sit on the side and we think about it, and we start to doubt ourselves. And it is said that we suffer more in our imagination than in real life. Correct. But until you get to the place where you actually start to doing these things, and you may fail along the way, you will fail from time to time. But it is the doing that gives you confidence. Because I don't know about you, Ricardo, when I look back in many instances about some of the things which I plan to do, and years later, I realized that I've done it. And I said to myself, you need to be beaten. You need to be chastised because you were lacking in confidence to make that plan bigger. Had I gone out confidently and make it a way bigger plan, a more significant plan, I would have achieved more. But the process of learning, growing, failing, picking yourself up, learning, growing, failing, and moving forward, that's where confidence is. So confidence is fundamentally important. If you look around, the people who I believe get ahead the most are those who are confident in their own abilities. Even to the point where there are individuals who have no reason to be confident in their abilities because they lack ability, but they get ahead further than the individual who has some ability and no confidence. I think that is important to reflect on, because until you tell yourself that you can and then go do, there's no achievement.
Wow. Woo, that is so good, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's talk about it. If lately I've been struggling with this, and I'm getting better, because I was telling a friend of mine, it's really about more inner work for me in this season. And I found that a lot of people govern their life from external, and I think we should live from inside out, not outside in. And so I've been really working on living from in, and it's feeling good. It's feeling good to become who I am. And that means I no longer over-concern myself with people misjudging me. But it was a weight. For the leader who is out there who still feels as though I can't stand strong to decline the sword of the king and the shield because the king is offering this. I can't decline it. I don't want to appear arrogant. I don't want to appear cocky. I don't want to be misunderstood. The role of arrogance, misunderstood, cocky being labeled on David. I want to use David as a good example because one, he raised his hands when his brothers asked him, "Who do you think you are?" The king then says to him, "You can't." He said he could. Then the king offered him the sword and the shield, and then he suggested, "I can't use that. Who do you think you are?" I've had that kind of statement said to me a few times. Man, it took me a while to learn how to live beyond someone's feeling of saying that when that's all about them. But for a while, it really was a thing that I battled with. What's your view on that position of a person having confidence enough to say to a king, "Unfortunately, I can't use your sword and shield because I'm not skilled in that." But knowing that those who are observing is thinking you're one little cocky, arrogant rat.
You know, I don't think persons should be cocky.
Yeah.
I don't think persons should be arrogant. They should, you should work very hard to not come across as being arrogant. Humility is absolutely unequivocally important. It doesn't matter how much you have, how much you have achieved, what you have done. You need to be humble, and you need to live in such a way where you can display confident humility.
Yeah.
You use the example of David. I'm going to give you an almost opposite example where humility really was married with a little bit of a telling. So it is that individual who got a dream, and he told persons about his very colorful jacket, right?
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a telling, wasn't it?
Yep.
Because of that telling, he was a little bit despised, yes?
Yep.
He was thrown into a pit, then he was taken out and he was sold to some slave traders who then took him into Egypt. He was attacked by a woman. He was accused of rape. But eventually he became the second most powerful individual in the land. And the reason for that is the way I interpret that story. It starts by identifying that you actually have a colorful piece of garment. You have to tell somebody. There's absolutely no way that your light is going to shine if you become the first person to dull it. And the moment you realize that you have a light to shine, a light which can help other persons find their own light. So it comes to the point where, am I going to be labeled, because now this is the other person's decision to label me as such. Am I going to be labeled as cocky? I don't want to be, but if it does happen, and I can then retort that, yes, you may see me as that, but look at all of the other persons who I'm helping. Look at how I'm enabling other persons. And you over there, all you're spending your time doing is criticizing me. So if your light is going to be to shine, you have to tell a little bit of your story. And that was one of the things which I personally grappled with and still is grappling with. For a long time, I consider myself to be very shy. I consider myself to be very reserved. But I then recognize that if you are going to live like that, the world is going to respond to you like that. Because the moment you decide how you want the world to respond to you, it responds in like manner. And it doesn't matter whether, if you are braggadocious, you will find braggadocious people. If you want to become a criminal, you will find criminals to go with. If you want to be a leader, then you will find like-minded person who you can associate it with. So you have to tell the world a little bit, and hopefully the world respect you enough to say, well, hey, yeah, he's saying that he achieved some things, but he's doing so with great humility. And the humility, I think, is the balance right there.
Wow. Nice. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're talking about leadership essentials. Here's the deal. The principle will work if you work the principle. You agree with the idea. Now you got to figure out how to put it into work. how to activate this thing so you can be the recipient of the rewards of having discovered truth. The truth shall set you free when you apply the truth you've discovered. Now, here's what I want you to know. Tonight, we wanted to trigger your mindset and your belief system to allow you to now think for a moment, okay, how can I take my leadership to the next level? When you look at the questions being presented, when you look at the thoughts that are being presented, where do you find yourself? The statement, do it afraid, that role in leadership. What's your view there? Do it afraid. And there are a lot of people who find themselves afraid. They're afraid to write that first book. They're afraid to launch that first. I remember doing my first live pre-pandemic and was trying to set up a Zoom, and I was afraid. Let me tell you, I sweat so much. I had 2 towels wiping my foot.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. I'm talking about it. I was nervous. I was sweating, and I was apologizing, and I had speaking. It was like right at the beginning of the pandemic where speaking engagements had converted from in person to virtual, and people wanted me to still come on virtually, and I was getting used to the lighting, and I was getting used to trying to talk to the screen, and it was nerve-wracking. And at one point, I said, "Nah, I'm just going to sit out. I'll just sit out and wait the pandemic out." But a friend of mine said to me, "Do it afraid. Just go out and step out and do what you do." And I'll tell you this, what kept me going was the first check. And after I got a nice check from South Africa, not having gone to South Africa, but was able to speak in South Africa, sitting down from my living room and having spoken to a few hundred young people, and then was signed off, and then was able to go back to doing life right in my home. I was like, there might be something here.
Yes, definitely something.
What's your view on doing it afraid? Because there are so many aspects of leadership that demands us to occasionally do it afraid.
There's no other way of doing it.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason you decide not to do it now and put it off until tomorrow is because you're afraid. When you get to tomorrow, you still will be afraid. Wow. The only absolutely unequivocal antidote for fear is doing.
Wow.
Absolutely. The only way you do that. And this is why when you watch professional sports athletes like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Usain Bolt and Shawn Miller, if you go to the training ground, what you will see Shawn Miller doing is running 400 after 400 and 200 and repeats. You will see a Kobe Bryant when he was alive shooting 500 free throws, even though in the game he's not going to shoot maybe more than 30 at most.
Yep.
The reason you do it is an antidote, because it comes back to the same thing you talked about earlier. By doing it, we build confidence. Yep. By doing it, we become more competent. By doing it, we figure out the way forward. There's a saying which says you should practice like you plan on fighting, right? So train the way you plan on fighting. And so when you get to the place where you become concerned about your performance, let's put it that way. You become concerned that you might fail. You become concerned that someone is going to make a disparaging comment about you. These are the reasons why we are often afraid to do things. But you have to go ahead and do it anyway. You have to go ahead and get that first word of the first line of the first paragraph in order to get your first book. There's no other way to do it. If you want to become a star athlete, you have to start jogging and you have to make a first step. So my admonition to individuals out there, and this is coming from a place where I grappled significantly with being afraid, significantly with worrying about what other persons may do. Based on my background, the risk of failing, the impact of failing would have been so significant that I end up failing so often because I was afraid.
Wow.
And looking back over time, I should have been bolder. I should have been braver. I should have done more earlier. So I'm telling you from a place of experience, from a place of knowing that you are going to be doing it afraid the first time. And then when you do it the second time, there's going to be something else that you're being afraid of. Over time, it may become a little bit more easier, then it becomes way easier. But even after you've done it 100 times, if you're growing, there's going to be something else that you're afraid of. But guess what? By that time, you realize you would have already learned that there's no other way of doing it. Just do it afraid. Just keep going.
Just do it afraid. Let's do it afraid. Years ago, I attended the Morris Torello World Conference for years, actually, for some 18 plus years. And the late Dr. Miles Monroe was a frequent annual speaker for Dr. Sorello at the World Conference. And for about 5 or 6 years, I got a call when I would have arrived, because I was responsible for the children's ministry of the conference. And they would say, hey, Ricardo, come into the opening session and greet the people and tell them what's going to happen for children. And I would say, okay, let me get back to you. And I never did it. Because I was like, I don't think I'm ready for the big adult crowd yet. I don't think I'm ready for the, and I was afraid. It was fear. It was fear that had me to never go to the main stage at the World Conference, because of just so much concern that was overwhelmingly taking me out of the moment to step up to the plate to do something. I want to talk about mentorship and someone guiding you along, and the role that plays into maximizing the moment, or the role that plays into becoming a phenomenal leader. I'm learning it more now than ever, the importance of one. But what's your view on it?
Mentorship is absolutely, absolutely important. If you are fortunate, if you are one of the lucky few, you will have one of these phenomenal persons who will either offer, or you ask and they accept. You will find yourself in a space where you can sit at their feet and you can learn from them. If you're very, very, very lucky, then you will have one of those individuals who actively say, I am going to help to make you better.
Wow.
But if you're unfortunate like me, and I say that from a bit of a serious space.
Yep.
Let me share this with you, Ricardo.
Yep.
I'm not sure what it is about me, but I have literally asked many, many, many persons over time to mentor me.
Yep.
And persons tell me flat out, no.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. I at some point in time, I start to ask myself the question, am I not worthy too?
Right. Yep.
But none of that is fatal.
Right.
None of that is fatal. Correct. You see all of these guys behind me?
Yep.
You see all of these guys behind me? They are my mentors.
Yes.
There's John Maxwell. There is Miles Monroe. Yeah. All of these individuals who I have the opportunity to read. There's Nelson Mandela. There is Martin Luther King. Yep. You can get to the place where you realize that there's an opportunity to come in contact with Ricardo Miller in the physical, or to come in contact with him in the mental. Wow. You have a book, Effective Living.
Correct.
If I cannot speak with you directly, I can speak with you through your book. Now, the good thing about your book is I can bother you whenever I want to, whether you're available or not, because the book is there. And you can't say anything to me. You can't tell me that you're busy, right? You have already invested in that. And through that investment, you are now investing in me. So I always say this to persons. There are two ways to go about mentorship. You either find the individual who is going to be willing to give you some time, or you find the individual and study them.
Correct.
Look at them, watch them, emulate them, read what they read, do what they do, and then take bits and pieces of that and make yourself who you want to be. Napoleon Hill has a concept which talks about his cabinet. And he decides mentally, these are the persons who are going to be in my cabinet. And if I have a decision to make, if I have something to do, I would sit back and I would ask myself, what would Ricardo do? What would Dr. Miles Monroe do in this case? We're talking about leadership. What would John Maxwell do? What would someone who is in this space do, say in this moment? And from that, you are able to use your mental capacity Of course, it's good if you would have read some of the books and read some of the work, but you are able to use your mental capacity to formulate a position. It may not be the most perfect position. It may not be the position that they would have given you 100%, but it's a position nonetheless. And most importantly, it creates a platform from which you can grow for the next decision and the next decision. So yes, I would encourage anyone out there, go out and find persons who are willing to physically give up some of their time and their effort on you. But if you struggle to do that, then invest in yourself. Buy some books, study them, go to YouTube, because in 2023, it's so much easy to find good, solid information on individuals that you want to follow, you want to emulate.
So true, so true, so true. Man, that is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're diving into leadership essentials. Let me tell you something. Grab a plate, get your fork, grab up everything you can for you. Here's the deal. I've been practicing journaling lately. It's not been something I've done for a long time, but I've been documenting my thoughts, what I've been thinking, and what I've been learning. And even after this session, I'm going to go back and watch it. I'm going to write down, because what I found is writing down helps to reinforce what I captured from the moment. In the moment, I'm enjoying what is being said, but actually 2 days, 5 days, a week later, most of it probably would have tried to just vanish away in that of time. But documenting it, putting it in a journal, putting it in a notepad, let me tell you something, game changer. And so lately I've been going back in my journal and finding those points from sessions like this. So do that. In addition, you know someone who wants to be a better leader. You know someone who is in pursuit of maximizing their potential in all that they can be as a leader. Share this conversation with them. Go ahead and copy the link from YouTube. As a matter of fact, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do me a favor and do that. I'm trying to make it big, people. I'm trying to come up, okay? And let me tell you something. One of the ways to help this thing go viral, one of the ways to help make this message connect with people around the world is for those of you that are enjoying it, share it. Do me that favor and share this. So let me get back to my guests. Listen, you are blessing me tonight. I'm going to watch this over and over. And ladies and gentlemen, your greatest point from the talk tonight, I want you to go ahead and put it in the comment section. Let me know what stood out to you the most. And maybe we'll bless you with something. I'm going to find a way to give away some gifts during my live conversations like this. But here's the deal. Hubert, I want to know, when you look back over your life from a leadership standpoint, what would be 3 things you would tell your 20-year-old self about leadership that you didn't know then, but boy, you're so glad you know it now, and you would definitely bring that statement to your 20-year-old self and say, hey. What 3 things come to mind as we get ready to bring our talk to a close?
Don't be afraid. You have to develop, work hard, fight hard to become as fearless as possible.
Yep.
Not being afraid is not the absence of fear, but an active decision to be bold and to be brave in the moment. Yep. So that would be the first thing I would want to tell a 20-year-old me. The second thing I would want to say to him is, if you live as long as I would have lived from 20, there are a whole lot of years, a whole lot of time, many hours in which you have to become a much better you. When you're 20, you don't think too much about the future. You don't think about what you can start to do now to become better. And so I would say to a 20-year-old me, start right now and start to get ready, because the world is waiting for you. And then finally, I would say to him, find yourself a philosophy. And if it is Christianity, if it is Buddhism or whatsoever it is, once it's grounded in love, once it's grounded in serving other persons. And it doesn't mean that if you pull from Asian teachings from different places, it doesn't mean that you're moving away from your tradition. My tradition is Christianity, but I like to pull on the Eastern teachings. I like to pull on the African teaching. And one of the things I've done in the most recent years is I've decided to use this philosophy of Ubuntu, which is an African concept, as a means of living my life. Ubuntu says, I am because we are.
Wow.
And that is a lens through which I do pretty much everything.
Yes.
You contacted me and you invited me to be here. And I had number of options. I could have said to Ricardo, no. But my philosophy is that if I go to and spend a few minutes with Ricardo, we are going to be better for it. If I can take some time to put on my summit and from the summit to get some proceeds and then give it away to scholarship, we are going to be better for it. So find yourself a philosophy which grounds you and which allows you to help other persons to grow. And if you do that over time, you're going to be okay. I think you're going to be okay.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Last question, man, for our viewing audience. I'm a big fan of the fact that this space now allows you to, I call it, archive your thoughts and views in the digital space. And 10 years from now, we'll be able to go back and watch this. And so when you look at your life and when you look at leadership and when you look at the principles that you're enforcing and the service you're bringing to humanity, my last question for you is, how do you want to be remembered? How would you like, when people mention your name, what would you like to be said of you? How would you like to be remembered?
Here lies a man who worked hard, supported his family, supported the community, did some things which had the impact of changing the country, and deposited knowledge, deposited value, which helped to change the world.
Nice. Man, listen, I enjoyed this talk so much. We could clearly have done this all. And it's unscripted. We didn't send the questions or anything. I just really wanted to pick your brains because I knew who you were and I know what you bring to the table. And I said, I just want to talk to him. And like I said earlier, I was grabbing a hold of what you were saying even for me. So it wasn't just an interview for those of you that are watching. I'm telling you, I'm committed to learning. And there were a few things you said. I'm going to go back and write them down, put them in my journal. And the next time we talk, you're going to be like, I mentioned that. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. And we're like, and God bless you, sir. You are a gift to the Bahamas. You're a gift to the world. And I love the fact that your conference was centered around helping a lot of not only the attendants, but the next generation. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about your book and how they can contact you.
Well, I have two books. One is this one right here, which is, I don't know how it comes across, Think, Act, Grow.
Okay.
It's thoughts and reflections for self-leadership. And as you mentioned about journaling, this is the result of journaling. Everything which is in here basically come from journaling. So you can find this on Amazon. I have another one, which is this one right here, with Whispers of a Country Boy.
Okay.
This is a book of poems, and it celebrates mother, celebrate father, it celebrates life in general. And it's just, I think, my expression of what I believe is some creative juices that I had in me at the time. I put them on people, and you can get this also. This is on Amazon. But more importantly than going out there and selling books, I would love for persons to start to understand, as this topic says, think, act, and grow.
Wow.
Now, it doesn't matter how you do that. If you think badly, you're going to act badly, and you're going to grow badly. If you think in good ways, you're going to act in good ways, and you're going to grow in good ways. It's all about the mind. And if you can start to do that, then you will get to the place where, as the title of this show says, you will start to live effectively. Effective living is important. Effective living is not about you just being the best you for the sake of you, but living in such a way that you help humanity to become better. That is effective living.
Come on, people. You heard it right here. Listen, do me a favor, share, share, share. Go ahead and let someone know, hey, this is a conversation worth watching. And so put it on your Facebook page, put it on your Twitter page, LinkedIn, wherever you are, and you can share it in WhatsApp. And so thank you again for watching, everyone. Sir, I appreciate you. I'll definitely be reaching back and seeing we got to do this again. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. I'll be in the Bahamas real soon, and I got your contact now. So I'm looking forward to us getting a chance to sit down and probably meet in person. But this has been great. This has been great. If you enjoyed this, once again, ladies and gentlemen, please do me a favor and share. Invite somebody to like the page and watch what you heard tonight. And then grab a hold of what you heard and put it into action to ensure that over time you can look back and say, you know what? I gave up about 50 minutes to watch that live conversation, and boy, was it worth it. Once again, thank you for watching Effective Living. If you have not gotten my book, go get the book. Listen, guys, for those of you heard the accent, the Caribbean is where it's at when it comes to vacationing. And listen, this October, we're coming to the Bahamas, y'all. We going to the Bahamas. I'm telling everybody, get on this ship. And we heading out of Galveston, Texas, and we're gonna cruise out to Nassau. We're gonna do Freeport. We're going to do Cocoa Key. We're gonna do another location. Check out the spot. If you don't do this cruise, you're doing yourself a disjustice. And then once again, go to my website. Get yourself a copy of Effective Living, the book. It will bless you. Sir, any last thoughts you want to give to our viewing audience?
My absolutely last thought is, and I want to publicly invite you to be on my radio show with me at some point in time.
Please.
I end every single radio show this way.
Okay.
Do not allow your greatness to become a victim of your unwillingness to change. Do not allow your greatness to become a victim of your unwillingness to change. There's pretty much nothing else I can say after that.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
All right.